Fellow FPL managers, a double game week is on the horizon, so we need to look at who are the best players to buy, the best triple ups from Palace and Newcastle, and just general players you're gonna want in your team. So let's get right into it. First off, we're starting off with Crystal Palace, looking at the best Crystal Palace triple up, and for the most part it's kind of easy. Your defender is going to be Munoz, your forward is going to be Mateta, then you have Ismaili Sarr and Eze. Now, which one do you want to pick? Me personally, I think Sarr is much better. He has the highest expected goal involvements in the last 5 games out of all Crystal Palace players. And when we look at this data on the screen of all these players from the last 5 games, it's not just the last 5 Crystal Palace games, it's the last 5 games they've played. So Mateta in the last 5 Palace games hasn't played all 5. He had that injury. So with Mateta's stats, I'm looking at his last 5 games. Looking at the fixtures themselves, you know, on paper, they're not appealing. Tough game after tough game after tough game, followed by more tough games, followed by a blank. The thing is, they have 2 double game weeks in a row, which means you're gonna want triple Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace are no bad team, guys. We know they're on good form. We know they're playing well, so a triple up is definitely necessary. You could even go triple up on the attack, because if we're being realistic, they're probably not going to keep a clean sheet in the next 4 games. The reason Munoz is so good anyway is because obviously there is a chance of a clean sheet, but also the guy has got 3 goal involvements in the last 5 games, so he clearly doesn't shy away from attacking, pretty much making him a valid option either way. So yeah, that's the best triple up in my opinion. You know, Eze is still a great player. Definitely someone if you don't want to sell, you don't even want to consider selling. But if you're going to buy a Crystal Palace midfielder and you're thinking of Sarr, you're thinking of Eze, you got to choose Ismaili Sarr, guys. He's the GOAT. He's a legend. Eze doesn't even have penalties anymore. Mateta's on them. Looking at Newcastle, the fixtures are a little better. Now, with the defender, first of all, I like Dan Burn. Even though Livramento has more assist potential and got an assist last game, you know, call me old-fashioned. I like a guy that's guaranteed to play 90 minutes. And while Livramento is a pretty safe option, and you could go for Livramento as equally as good, I just like the safety and security of Dan Burn. There's nothing more annoying than owning a defender from a team that's kept a clean sheet and you find out your defender hasn't started or he's been subbed off before the 60th minute. So for that reason, I've gone with Dan Burn, but Livramento equally as good, in some cases probably better. Now, the midfielder choice was tough until game week 31 happened. Jacob Murphy is edging it over Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes. You know, he's got the reliable minutes. He's not a risk like Gordon, and you know, even Barnes, when Gordon comes back, becomes a risk because there's rotation on that left side. Murphy is also way cheaper. You know, people forget how ridiculously cheap 5 million is. The guy is cheaper than Rodgers. The guy is cheaper than Munoz, you know. He is going to save you so much money and give you so much value. So yeah, if your budget is unlimited, you could go with Gordon, but I still wouldn't recommend it. Jacob Murphy is on fire, so I'd recommend Murphy. Then obviously the striker is Isak. I mean, he's not on the best form at the moment, guys. I'm not going to lie. The underlying data is not amazing. He may not be someone I want to triple captain, you know. Going into this game week a few game weeks ago, I was so 100% adamant. If I'm using triple captain this game week, it's got to be Isak, because I can't really use bench boost since everyone's been injured. So it's really my only option, but I may save it for game week 33 now, just because Isak's form has been on the poorer side of things. I don't want to risk it. I want my triple captain to play really well. And with a double game week in game week 33, I could easily just wait. But then you've got the other side of the coin. You know, you flip it over and you see he's playing home to Man United and home to Palace. 2 pretty good fixtures. I mean, Man United and Palace are on decent form themselves. You know, we already know that. But the games still realistically aren't that hard. So either way, Isak is a valid triple captaincy option. I'm just worried as a forward, even if he does say score 3 goals in these 2 games, it's not going to be the highest scoring game week for him, you know, like 20 points, which, you know, sounds great and it is good, but you want higher upside than that. You know, waiting for maybe Saka in game week 33, the guy could, you know, amount a big haul, a lot more than I think Isak has the potential to in game week 32. So there's the double game week, boys, wrapped up. Onto some regular players now. If you've already got a triple Newcastle, you've got a triple Palace, or you don't want to buy Palace players who are playing away to City and away to Newcastle, I've got you covered. First off, we got Bukayo Saka. Now, the predicted points expect him to only play 53 minutes for the rest of the season. I think that's a little off. I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. And with underlying data, we literally have 70 minutes from the last 2 game weeks to go through, so not a lot, but in general, the last 70 minutes, they've looked pretty good for him. Playing home to Brentford, then having a double game week straight after, is just an insanely good time to buy in on Saka, guys. I think he's going to be back to starting ways in game week 32. You know, he's got a week to rest. Well, I mean, he doesn't actually have a week to rest. You know, he's playing Real Madrid in the Champions League, but I think he's going to be, you know, starting games again by next game week. You know, I think he's going to start against Real Madrid. And once Saka starts, he doesn't stop, guys. He is not a rotation risk, and he never has been. I think these 2 Premier League games he's just played, he's been eased back in safely, which is obviously what you want to do. It's responsible. But once he's eased back in, he's not going to be a rotation risk anymore. He's going to be starting every game and playing till at least like the 80th, 85th minute every time, maybe the full 90. So even though he's only predicted 53 minutes, I have to say, I disagree. I do think Saka's going to be starting in game week 32. And I do think he's going to be, well, I don't think, I know he's going to be Arsenal's best attacker, because look at the Arsenal attack ever since he's been injured. It's been nothing short of disappointing. On to the next one. Now, I know the Arsenal defence is annoying, guys. You know, Gabriel just got injured. You don't want to go from one Arsenal defender to another. You know, they always, you know, dominate a game and get high expected clean sheets and still concede 1 goal. It's frustrating. But, guys, we've got to be real here. In these next 4 games, home to Brentford, away to Ipswich, home to Palace, home to Bournemouth, you know, there's 4 potential clean sheets there. I'm not saying he definitely is going to get 4 clean sheets, but I wouldn't put it past Arsenal to get at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4. And I want to remind you guys that Saliba, in Gabriel's absence, last time he got injured earlier on in the season, scored 2 goals from set pieces. So he is now the new main goal threat. You could go for Kiwior as a different, cheaper option. He's also predicted to play a lot, but the rotation in the Arsenal defence isn't ideal. It's not good. I mean, you're looking at a regular starting lineup of Lewis Skelly, Saliba, then Kiwior, and then maybe either Ben White when he's back, Timber, you know, if he's back. That slot is kind of iffy. But then obviously Caliafori could come back as well. There's lots of players that could come in and take Kiwior's place, which is why I've opted for Saliba. A slightly more expensive pick, but more goal threat and way more reliability. Plus, Saliba is a pretty big bonus points magnet this season. After that, we've got Marmoush. Now, I'm on the fence about this guy, to be completely honest. I can't tell if he is a fraud or not. I can't tell if he's a trap, because he's got 1.9 expected goals in the last 5 games. He started 4 of them. The only issue is 1.6 of those expected goals came in the same game. And, you know, 3 of those 5 games, he wasn't playing as striker. Now he is. So the data there isn't super reliable. It's not really valid, because as a striker, he had 1 game with 1.6 expected goals and another with no expected goals. And that game with 1.6 expected goals was home to Leicester. So you'd kind of expect it from any striker playing against Leicester, you know? So is Marmoush really that guy? I don't know. But one thing for sure is you want City players, and Marmoush is the best City attacker. That's what I do know. I think he is essential, even though I just rambled on about how I think he could be a trap. He's very, very high owned. He's the best City attacker, not because he's amazing, but because everybody else sucks. And then he's got that double game week in game week 33, not to mention the game in game week 32 isn't too bad either. I could recommend Watkins above this guy, but Watkins, ever since the new signings have come in for Aston Villa, he's been overshadowed a bit. So now I'm more reluctant to pick Watkins. Instead, I kind of like a new Aston Villa player. Well, not new, but a different Aston Villa player in Morgan Rogers. These new signings coming in has not made Rodgers a rotation risk like Watkins. It's not put Rodgers on bad form like it has for Watkins. In fact, I would argue it's improved Morgan Rogers' form. And the rotation risk isn't there. He can start every game fine. It's absolutely no problem for him. The guy is an engine. You know, 4 goal involvements in the last 5 games for 5.5 million. And then he plays Southampton next. Is that something you want to miss out on? Is that something you want to avoid? Like, come on, guys. If you want a midfielder and you're not looking for a double game week midfielder, look no further than this guy, because I guarantee you can afford him. I know he's been probably the most frustrating player to own this season, but he is good. He is a good pick, guys. He plays to Southampton. He has the double game week. He's on good form. He's cheap. You know, I wouldn't just ignore him because he's been frustrating earlier on in the season. Me personally, I never actually benched Rodgers for a massive haul like everyone else seems to have done this season. I've been quite smart with how I've played Morgan Rogers, so I can safely sit here and say I'm a big believer of this guy. All the other midfielders from Aston Villa, like I said about Watkins, you know, there's Asensio and Rashford too. Rotation risk, rotation risk, rotation risk. Tielemans wasn't good anyway, so we won't talk about him. Rodgers, actually reliable. And with the Aston Villa defence, it's not bad, you know, like they'll probably keep a clean sheet against Southampton, but I very much doubt they're going to keep a clean sheet for the rest of the season after that. So realistically, the only appealing pick from Aston Villa, in my opinion at least, is Morgan Rogers. Anyway, FPL Bodies gang, let me know what you think of my opinions. Did I make some smart calls? Did I make some bad ones? Feel free to voice your thoughts in the comments. If you did make it this far, you are greatly appreciated. You know, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're liking the video. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one.